Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is going to be a Heel Heat Top 10. Now the topic of this Top 10? The Top 10 Undertaker matches at Wrestlemania. As you know, at the time of this taping, recently, Wrestlemania 33 just happened a few days ago. And presumably, The Undertaker has retired. So with that, we're going to go back and go through what, in our opinion, is the top 10 matches of his legendary run at WrestleMania. Now, we all know about the streak. We all know he ended up 23-2. So, we all know how ingrained he is in the show and how much it goes with his career. So, getting right on to that, our number 10, Ty Dillinger. No, I'm just kidding, guys. But that would be funny if he did have one. Randy Orton from WrestleMania 21. This, in my opinion, was probably the first time they really piped up the streak to that amount that there was someone that was a threat to it in Randy Orton, who at that time still had the legend killer aura about him, was an up-and-coming wrestler, was a young guy that could have used a rub, that could have used a win against The Undertaker to launch his career. They put on a hell of a match, and it did help Randy Orton's career. Don't get me wrong, just being in the ring at a show like WrestleMania with a guy like The Undertaker does elevate your career, and it shows how important you are to the company. And they put on a fantastic match. I think it's one of the better matches of Randy Orton's career. As you can see by it being on the list, I think it's one of the better matches of The Undertaker's career as well. Now, our number 9. A match that a lot of people say was made to placate CM Punk. The match from WrestleMania 29, CM Punk versus The Undertaker. A fantastic match, a good setup for it. I think, like I just said, it was a way to placate him. CM Punk long had since his aspirations were to be the top guy in the company, whether it be top face or top heel. And for whatever reason, they didn't want to pull the trigger on him getting a WrestleMania main event. Well, this was their answer, putting him in against The Undertaker, which wasn't the main event of the show. However, it was announced as a main event. And I agree with CM Punk. Don't call it a main event unless it's the last match on the show. That's just my opinion. But altogether, they put on a fantastic match. The build-up for the match was great. I love what they did. It was a little bit of a foreshadowing of what would come next year, as we seen Undertaker struggle with a younger, faster talent. And we got to see a great match between probably two of the great wrestlers of this last decade. Now, our number 8 is the culmination of a great, fantastic storyline that probably should only lasted 6 months. Undertaker versus Kane from WrestleMania 14. We had Kane show up at Bad Blood at the first Hell in a Cell match, cost Undertaker the match against Shawn Michaels. We find out that Kane's his brother, that Undertaker burned down the family house. The whole crazy, insane storyline, Paul Bearer being brought back into it. It was, like I said, it was something that probably should have lasted 6 months, and this should have been the blow-off, and the Kane character disappeared. Luckily, Glenn Jacobs is such a great talent that he kept the Kane character going, and still going to this day, which is almost 20 years later. This was a fantastic feud-ending match, a way to put Kane versus The Undertaker. Undertaker didn't want to wrestle his brother. He had to be forced into the match, and Just a great way that two of the great storytellers of our time know how to get in the ring and use it to tell a story. It's almost a lost art in sorts. We see it a little bit here and there, and we get glimpses of it, but a lot of times work rate is looked at more importantly than story in this generation. Whereas the story that they told in this match superseded the work rate. Even though it's a great match, don't get me wrong, work rate wise it was great too. The story made it even better. Now we're going to number 7. No surprise from the probably the best match on a pretty bad WrestleMania card, Undertaker versus Triple H from WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta. This match, a lot of people were disappointed when, for one reason and one reason only. It's because we almost had Undertaker versus Sting. We didn't quite get that, but we did get Undertaker versus Triple H in a fantastic match. One of the, like I said, the highlights of that card, which wasn't really great. I thought Triple H was a serious threat at this point to beat the streak. I thought if anybody's going to do it, if it's not going to go to a young guy, it's going to go to a guy like Triple H, who we know the Undertaker respects, who we know has built up a reputation that he could be a guy to beat the Undertaker. And of course, you know, this backstage stuff, not saying that that's what got in here. However, I see him as a serious threat to the streak at this point. Even when I did the previews for the show, I made predictions for WrestleMania 27. I said I thought Triple H would win. They went in and they sold it as such. It was a heck of a match. The end sees Triple H lose, but Undertaker get carded out, which will set up something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But just a great match in my opinion. Again, one in the long lines of Undertaker WrestleMania matches. Now our number 6 happened exactly a decade earlier. Undertaker versus Triple H from WrestleMania 17. Another fantastic match and another great example of two guys that are probably two of the best wrestlers in the world at the time, going out and proving that they are and showing what they can do on the world's biggest stage. It's just one of those things that you go back and you can watch over and over again. It's a little bit overshadowed by other matches on the card. Converse to what I said about 17 is probably one of the better WrestleManias of all time. But this was one of the reasons why. I mean, you had these guys going at it. You had The Rock and Austin going at it. You had the TLC match. I mean, just a fantastic show from start to finish, and another shining example of putting Triple H and The Undertaker in a match, always working in my opinion. I thought every match I've ever seen the two in, I thought was fantastic. Now our number 5. It's probably one of the better matches of Ric Flair's late career, his post WCW run career. This is from WrestleMania 18, The Undertaker versus Ric Flair. We get to see Ric Flair, who's not Ric Flair in his prime. But he's still good, and he's still one of the best wrestlers in the world. We get to see two of the absolute legends in wrestling. Everybody has to put both these guys in the top 10 list of greatest wrestlers of all time. Ric Flair probably being at the very top. It's just a fantastic match and more proof that guys like The Undertaker and Ric Flair are timeless. That no matter when, no matter what, when given the opportunity, they will go out there and they will prove exactly why they are the legends that they are. Now our number 4, from WrestleMania 24, Undertaker versus Edge. Another fantastic match. I thought one of the real highlights of Edge's career, one of the true highlights of the Undertaker streak, as said here. This was another time, much like Randy Orton and much like Triple H, I really felt the streak would be a threat being as hot as Kane was, or I'm sorry, as hot as Edge was during that time frame, during that time period. Edge was one of the best wrestlers in the world, one of the highlights of SmackDown, a guy that you could bank on and be a main event star at all points. And I really thought he brought it with The Undertaker. They put on a fantastic match. Undertaker wins the championship. I thought it was great. I thought everything about it was awesome. The build-up, the match itself, just a fantastic showcase of a good veteran, a great veteran, and a great talent in the prime of his career, going out and putting on a true masterpiece of a match. Now, number 3. This is where we're going to start getting people that are going to disagree, I believe. Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 26. This was the match that Shawn Michaels retired with. The stipulation was if he couldn't beat Undertaker, he'd retire. Obviously, a rematch from the year before. Shawn and Taker go out, put on the absolute best match of the year. No question about it. One of the great matches of all time. Put on a showcase. The only reason why I think it's number 3 is the 2 matches ahead of it are just a slight bit better. But this match was a fantastic showing. You had Mr. WrestleMania against Mr. WrestleMania streak. You had the 2 guys that really kept the WWE, then the WWF going in the 90s and around. These are the guys that were there when the company was at the lowest of its lows, when it almost went out of business in the mid-90s, and at the highest height of the heights when the Attitude Era came around. And they stuck around and they didn't jump ship, and these were the loyal guys, the WWE guys through and through, going out there and giving it one last hurrah as the 2 greats that they were. Now, our number 2 also involves both of these guys with a 3rd man followed in. Now, this is the 3rd match with Triple H that comes up. From WrestleMania 28, Undertaker versus Triple H, Hell in a Cell, end of an era. The reason I put this just a smidge bit above the Shawn Michaels match at 26 is the involvement of Shawn Michaels as referee. At almost times it seemed like Triple H and Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker in a handicap match. And it brought extra to it. Just the way that the 2 guys, with Triple H and The Undertaker, 2 masters of their craft, with a 3rd master of their craft as a referee. Some of Shawn Michaels' reactions and sells are better than any wrestler on that show, including Undertaker and Triple H. And he was a referee. Just the way he sold the offense, these 2, and they were brutalizing each other. There's no way around it. These 2 guys beat the hell out of each other, and this is what a Hell in a Cell match should look like. This is what a feud should end like. This is what 2 great performers can do on the grandest stage. In my opinion, this should have been the walk-off for The Undertaker and Triple H. They should have both walked off. It's the name of the match was the end of the era. They should have walked off the stage, never to wrestle again, retired right here. And I understand both men have put on great matches after this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they haven't. This was the perfect storyline to end the Attitude Era, hence the end of the era, in my opinion. Now, before we get into number 1, we're going to talk about the best of the rest. Basically, what we do here, we compile the list, and these are the things that just barely missed the top 10. First off, Undertaker versus Kane at WrestleMania 20. The match where he came back from being the American Badass to going back to the regular Deadman Undertaker. Yet another match with Kane. Yet another great match with Kane. The only thing that missed the list was it was a little bit short by the Undertaker standards. I believe it went 7 or 8 minutes. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but the spectacle of it as him coming back in his original gimmick was great. Also, Undertaker vs. Batista at WrestleMania 23. Much like I said with Edge, and much like I said with a lot of people on this, This is most likely Batista's best match. Probably, in my opinion, his best match. Dave Batista doesn't get enough credit for how good of a wrestler he actually was, for being a big guy, and how important he was to that generation, to that ruthless aggression era. He was a big star and a big cog in it, and The Undertaker, again, always near the top of the card, putting over a younger guy. Dave Batista just being in the ring with him is proof of that situation. And last but not least, on the best of the rest, probably the most controversial match in the history of the WWE, WrestleMania 30, Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, the end of the streak. I thought it was a fantastic match. I thought it was very emotional. It's one of the few times that a wrestling fan like myself, who's been watching 30 plus years, can look at a match and be genuinely shocked and genuinely surprised at the outcome, and dumbfounded to the fact that I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, much like the guy in the front row, with my mouth wide open in all of what just happened. Now, before we get into our number one, if you think we left a match off, think we put one too high, one too low, or just like it the way it is, let us know what you think. Hit us up in the comments, hit us up on our Twitter, hit us up on Facebook. Make sure to like and share this video so we can post it around so YouTube will promote it. And again, like and share, let me know what you think. Let me hear what your opinions are on this list, and maybe I put something differently. But anyway, with all that being said, the number one match in WrestleMania for The Undertaker, from WrestleMania 25, arguably one of the greatest matches in the history of professional wrestling, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, an absolute masterpiece of a match. Just a smidget better than the match against the rematch the year later, and just a little bit better than the end of an era match. This is one of those matches that every wrestling school in America should be showing to the people applying there and going, this is what you need to aspire for. This is one of the great matches in all of wrestling history, right up there with Savage and Steamboat, right up there with Flair and Steamboat, Flair and Funk. I mean, anything you could put. The hyperbole about this match doesn't even do it justice. It's the one match on this list, well, a lot of them are, but this match in general, in specific, there is no adjective to tell you how great this match was. It was that good and that much of an emotional roller coaster. Here you have two of the guys that defined what the WWE is, fighting it out on the grandest stage, two of the mainstays, two of the guys that you buy WrestleMania to see, doing what they do best, and they put on one hell of a show. Probably one of the top 5 matches in the history of professional wrestling, bar none. But basically, that's all I have to say on this topic. My name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.